and good morning. Today we are going to understand properties of ionic compounds. Number one is ionic compounds normally have high melting point and boiling point. Now, what is the reason of high melting point and boiling point? It is because the electrostatic force of attraction or the ionic bond is so strong in a molecule of ionic compound that they strongly held together all the molecules. That is why to separate these molecules is very difficult and needs a lot of energy. So their melting point and boiling points are high. Secondly, the solubility in water. Most of the ionic compounds are soluble in water. Why? We will discuss it later on. And third is that most of the ionic compounds conduct electricity when they are dissolved in water, also known as aqueous solution, and when they are in molten form or fused form. They cannot conduct electricity when they are in solid form. And one thing which is the property of ionic compounds is that they are found in crystal lattice. So you have to remember this word, crystal lattice. Now, what is crystal lattice? A crystal lattice is here shown in two dimensions, that one sodium is surrounded by 6 chlorine. One chlorine, second chlorine, third chlorine, fourth chlorine, fifth is behind the board, and sixth one is the in front of the board. I can show you this in this model. If you see, this green is as a chlorine. One sodium is below chlorine, one on the left side, one on the right side, one above chlorine, and then there are two more chlorines on the sides. Now you can count these as 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and above one 6. So here you can see that this form of formation of a molecule is known as crystal lattice. You can also take the example of bricks in a wall. When they are arranged in 3 dimension in all the sides, they held together very strongly. It is very difficult to take out one brick from the wall, and in all directions they are surrounded by same type of arrangement. This is known as crystal lattice. Now let us understand the reason of high melting and boiling point and solubility, etc. Now, high melting and boiling point. Now let us take the example of water or methane. Methane is CH4, water is H2O. Now these are in the form of molecules. They are not ionic. This is a gas, this is a what? Liquid. Their melting and boiling points are very low of methane and is low for water. But when we take the example of sodium chloride, now the boiling point of methane is minus 162 degrees centigrade, of water is 100 degrees centigrade, and of sodium chloride is 801 degree centigrade. Now why is this very high? Because the molecules of sodium chloride, as I have shown you in the crystal lattice, they held together very strongly. It is very difficult to take one molecule out of it. So that is why it needs a lot of energy to take one molecule or to separate them from each other, and hence they have a high melting and boiling point. So you can understand that when most of the ionic compounds, in fact all of the ionic compounds are solids at room temperature, while the others may not be solids. The second point was electric conductivity. No, not electric conductivity. It was solubility in water. Now let us take the example of sodium chloride again. Sodium chloride. When we dissolve it in water, what happens? That it changes into sodium positive ions and chloride negative ions in water. And water surrounds it in the opposite charges. Oxygen will, because oxygen is negatively charged, so it is negative, 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 and negative. All these negatives are surrounding the positive ion of sodium. On the other hand, hydrogen ions are surrounding the chloride ion, which are positive. So in this way, water molecules surround it. So most of the ionic compounds are soluble in water because they are separated in water in negative and positive ions. Negative ions are surrounded by hydrogen ions, and positive ions are surrounded by oxygen ions, which are negatively charged. Hence, they are separated. Though there are some examples which are of ionic compounds which are not soluble. For example, silver chloride, barium sulfate, etc. are not soluble, though they are ionic, but their bonds are very strong, so they are not soluble. Further, we will study these in our other chapters. Okay, hope that you have understood it.